The energy narrative around Bitcoin is a fascinating one, isn't it? So much negative news and yelling, and yet so much opportunity and net positive impact. In the upcoming videos, I will try to debunk the narrative that Bitcoin is bad for the environment. Why? Well, unfortunately, many financial influencers with a lot of following, mainstream media, but also politicians are citing and using the dishonest thesis of Alex de Vries, aka Digiconomist, aka Digiconomist. And although you can find much information online, I think it's important to share my view in a condensed way and reshare great articles and opinions of leading figures in the Bitcoin space, but also from people outside of the space but with the expertise in the energy market. By doing that, I hope I can give you the tools to debunk the Energy FUD and to show you why Bitcoin isn't bad for the environment. I will make a couple of short videos, and in today's video we will discuss Bitcoin is bad for the environment, Analyzed Total Bitcoin Footprints. Now, before we start, I would like to point out, and please remember this whilst watching the video. The Bitcoin network provides a global, freely available, censorship-resistant, debased, protected, and human rights-preserving monetary network for the entire world. Who is Alex de Vries? Alex de Vries, aka Digiconomist, aka Digiconomist, is a second-year PhD candidate at the VU University in Amsterdam, and also working at the Dutch Central Bank, the DNB. So you can say we have a little bit of a conflict of interest regarding his thesis that Bitcoin is bad for the environment. In the videos, I'm using the following sources. The University of Cambridge, Lynn Alden, she has a master's in engineering management with a focus on engineering economics and financial modeling. BMC, that is the Bitcoin Mining Council. Daniel Batten is an ESG analyst and an environmentalist, CoinShares, and Troy Cross. And I highly recommend that if you find my video valuable, please share it with your friends, family members, co-workers, regional and national politicians. But as always, don't trust me, but verify. You will find all the resources below in the description. Starting from 2014, Alex de Vries is screaming that Bitcoin uses more energy than countries like Sweden or Austria. But he fails to point out there are more Bitcoiners than Swedes on the planet. And in my view, it only means Bitcoiners are using energy more efficiently. The Bitcoin mining narrative is total nonsense, as we should investigate more and define what is waste. So let's start with the carbon footprint and energy footprint. As you can see here, this is the website of Digiconomist. He is stating that the analyzed total Bitcoin footprints, carbon footprints of 42.72 megatron is comparable to the carbon footprint of Hong Kong. Electrical energy, at this moment 76 terawatt hours, comparable to the power consumption of Bangladesh, and electronic waste comparable to the small IT equipment waste of the Netherlands. As I mentioned, the next video will be, or as I mentioned, I will mention it right now, the single Bitcoin transaction footprints we will mention in the next video. But if you go down a little bit lower, then you will see here where he states energy consumption by country. Bitcoin is at 39 spot, more than Austria, equal to Chile, and so forth. Now let's have a deep dive into the material, right? So as I said, let's start with the carbon footprint and energy footprint. The University of Cambridge is the most cited source for estimating Bitcoin's energy consumption, and they place it estimates analyzed at under 100 terawatt currently. As you can see right here, they estimate is based on specific assumptions to complement the picture. A purely hypothetical best worst case scenario is added to delineate the absolute minimum maximum consumption that is theoretically possible. And as you see right here, annualized consumption, the model estimates the total electrical power expressed in gigawatts GW of the Bitcoin network, which corresponds to the rate of which miners currently use electricity. The total yearly electricity consumption, expressed in terawatt hours, TWH, is an annualized measure that corresponds to the total amount of electricity used over the period of 1 year, assuming continuous power at the current rate, as a 7-day moving average is applied. And by that you see it's at 96 terawatt hour. So even at its estimated peak, it was under 150 terawatt. Now I must confess that this is just one figure, so the 96 terawatt hour. The Bitcoin mining console estimated last year that the Bitcoin network was using annualized consumption of 266 terawatt hourly. I will get back to at that figure in a little bit later in the video. But now, since the world uses, as you can see right here, I will put it over there, of 176.431 terawatt hours of energy per year, that means that the entire Bitcoin network at its peak consumption level uses less than 0.1% of the world's energy consumption. That's for a network with 100 plus million estimate usage worth of hundreds of billions of dollars. So that's a quite interesting one, right? And as I mentioned previously, de Vries is comparing it with one country. So for example, the country of Sweden, there's like 8 million Swedes in that country. You're gonna compare that with a global network with over 100 million users. Now, if we're gonna go to the BMC, there you see that the Bitcoin mining energy use versus the total global energy use, you see there's like a difference. They say that there's like a total energy utilized worldwide of 165. The Bitcoin network is 266 terawatt hourly. That means that the global Bitcoin mining consumes of 0.16% of the world's energy production. Now, this approach is unscientific, so we cannot assume that the Cambridge study is more accurate simply because it's an independent institute. An academic institute may have a more robust methodology, but still arrive at an inaccurate answer due to the lack of proximity to the industry, or the exclusion of a type of data they do not have ready access to, which maybe the BMC, the Bitcoin mining console, does have. My conclusion is that the truth somewhere is in the middle. More on this, please check the link below. Daniel Batten wrote a beautiful article, a more complete picture of Bitcoin's energy usage. Now you might wonder, what is BMC? BMC is 51 mining companies representing roughly like 45% of the global network. So Bitcoin uses less than 1/10 of 1% or 0.16%. Plus, a large percentage of the energy that Bitcoin uses is from otherwise wasted energy sources. More on that later. Now, Bitcoin energy usage has been in the news for years. Alex de Vries is spreading lies since 2014, and based on those lies we have seen some extreme critiques in newspapers, financial influencers, but also politicians. Matter of fact, based on those lies, the EU but also other institutes want to ban Bitcoin, and especially proof of work. Now, for example, during the bull run in 2017, the World Economic Forum ran a headline. In 2020, and I will quote it, Bitcoin will consume more power than the world does today. And I quote Lynn Alden in her brilliant written article. I quote, how can they, WEF, literally be off by 3 orders of magnitude and think that Bitcoin will use 100% of energy while instead it ends up using 0.1%. The answer is that it often comes down to them not understanding the scaling process that the network is going through, or basically understanding how any of it works at all. The WEF is using the thesis of Alex de Vries. You can find that at their paper. I will put it down in the link as well. You will see that they are citing Alex de Vries. So yes, it's true what Alex de Vries is stating. Bitcoin network is using more energy than some countries, but it is almost everything in life. You need to nuance that. Basically, any other sizable platform or industry does use more energy than some countries. Do we think that is bad? So let's compare it with some industries. The global Bitcoin mining versus other industries. As you can see right here, the global BTC mining is at 266 terawatt hourly. Now this is the figure of the Bitcoin Mining Council. Cambridge University put it at roughly 100 terawatt hour and at its peak at 150 terawatt hour. So as you can see, that is way less than gold mining, 571. Computer games, think about that, it's 215, and we just experienced Christmas, that is 201 terawatt hourly. And of course, if you're gonna compare it with other industries, so for example, shipping, aviation, healthcare, the banking industry, finance and insurance is at a whooping 4.931 terawatt hours. That's 4,939 terawatt hours. So you can compare it as well with Amazon, the cruise industry, as I mentioned, Christmas lights, household drying machines, private jets, basically any other sizable platform or industry. And from that list that I just mentioned, it's not on this list, but what I mentioned just previously, Bitcoin energy usage is the closest to that of the cruise industry energy usage. But Bitcoins are used by more people and the network scales far better. So this is a piece, this is a part of the article from Lynn Alden, Bitcoin Energy. At the current time, the Bitcoin's network electricity consumption is estimated to emit less CO2 than random things we don't think about, like tumble dryers or zinc production. As you can see right here, Bitcoin's energy spend is analogous to energy consumption of Venezuela or Austria, but only 0.7 of China or 1.7% of the US. Bitcoin energy consumption is 12 times smaller than that of always on electrical devices in only the US households. 15 times less than the global electricity loss in transit every year. Now, and there you see comparisons with CO2 emissions to other industries. The financial sector, 27 times bigger than Bitcoin. Gold mining and production, 3.4 times bigger than Bitcoin. Zinc and so forth. As mentioned, some of the larger mining companies in the industry have formed the Bitcoin Mining Council to collect volunteer data from miners on the source of energy used. Their data collection over the past couple of years shows that Bitcoin mining uses a higher ratio of sustainable energy than just about any country's typical. The general view of the Bitcoin Mining Council members and their supporters is that information is useful to have, so collecting volunteer data and presenting it to capital allocators and policymakers is inherent helpful. This gives capital allocators and policymakers hopefully a useful set of information to work with, rather than the hysteria that, basically comes from Alex de Vries that is often presented in media. So what you see right here is that the global Bitcoin mining has the highest sustainable energy mix. BMC member data shows that it's at 67%. Global Bitcoin mining is at 59.4%, and I must say these figures are presented by the Bitcoin Mining Council. If you go back to that Daniel Baden article, you will see that there are some different figures between the BMC figure and, for example, also the Cambridge University figure. Somewhere the truth is, you can find somewhere in the middle, I would say, but still it is better than the EU, still it's better than other countries. So the sustainable energy mix I'm talking about. As I mentioned previously, a large percentage of the energy that Bitcoin uses is from otherwise wasted energy sources. For example, and I'm using now the text from Lynn Alden article, stranded hydroelectrical power, also in China, flared gas Bitcoin mining, landfill gas Bitcoin mining as a grid battery. And this one is quite interesting. So Bitcoin mining as a grid battery, and I will show you something quite interesting. This is an article from, I would say, 3 days ago, or when was it? 4 days ago, in which they are stating Bitcoin miners return enough power to heat 1.5 million homes during Texas winter storm. The most important part is from here. Hash rate is a measure of all computation occurring on the Bitcoin network, and unlike Amazon and Google data centers temporarily, regional outage do not cause any interruptions for the Bitcoin network. Imagine if 30% of Amazon or Google's data centers went offline, they would have significant service interruptions. The flexibility of Bitcoin mining is part of the reason why mining is such an important customer for grids across the USA. Now, here the author said, I spoke with Lee Bratcher, president of the Texas Blockchain Council, and he stated that miners return up to 1,500 megawatts to the grid. That will be equal to enough to heat over 1.5 million small homes or keep 300 large hospitals fully operational. So what you see is that companies like Riot, Core Scientific, Lancium and other in Texas shut down their power consumption during the storm to help ratepayers and grid operators. In a way, this ability of miners to wind down during winter storms provides a buffer for the state of Texas to ensure that their grid remains stable and resilient. 5 is advancing new energy technology like OTEC or PTRI. Please watch or listen to the What Bitcoin Did interview with Nathaniel Harmon. You will find the description as well down below. 6, bootstrapping developing country electricity. Then we go to the Lynn Alden's article, in which he stated that many low-income countries have a lot of energy resources, including hydroelectric capacity. However, they often have a chicken and egg problem. Bitcoin presents an interesting opportunity for some of these developing areas to build out their electrical capacity and generating revenue. If an energy source is developed, Bitcoin miners can come in and give their site immediate profit as guarantee anchor tenant buyer until that electricity is put to better use. What does he mean with that is that, and then I will show you here, is that during 2022 this vision started to become a reality in Africa. A company called Gridless began using Bitcoin mining to incentivize and sustain the deployment of small river hydropower in eastern portions of Africa. This is the homepage of Gridless. Bitcoin mining in Africa, distributed run-of-river hydroelectric Bitcoin mining in rural Africa. So what is the story? As I stated, is that there is an immense demand for reliable, clean and affordable energy across Africa, yet many grid energy generators struggle for sustainability. Gridless works with renewable rural mini-grid energy generators to monetize the full capacity of the output as a buyer of last resort, as well as serving as an anchor tenant for new energy generation creation, which is awesome. So far, we established that Bitcoin uses only 0.1%, or if we're going to use the Bitcoin Mining Council data, it's 0.16%, which is still a fraction of the global energy. And a significant portion of that energy it does use is otherwise stranded or wasted or renewable. It can also help bring new types of energy to market thanks to its flexibility. Now, both the global energy and carbon footprint are inconsequential. If you shut down the entire Bitcoin network, so if you shut it off, there will be no global effect. So the real issue must be what Bitcoin provides. And what is that, I hear you ask? Well, I'm gonna quote right now Darren Feinstein, a member of the BMC, the Bitcoin Mining Council. Banking to 8 billion people, private property to 8 billion people, eliminate stakeholders' power, which we see in the current financial system, but also, proof of stake, and accounting technology becomes unchangeable, and it provides the first immutable on-chain truth. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the video, the Bitcoin network provides a global, freely available, censorship-resistant, debasement protected, and human rights preserving monetary network for the entire world. So if you hear again in 2023 any environmentalist, financial influencer, mainstream media, or politician say that Bitcoin energy use is a global problem, she is lying, uninformed, or intellectually confused. Alex de Vries writes a bullshit scientific paper, and will do that again in 2023 and in 2024, which after that it will be distributed to 100 of newspapers, outlets, and politicians are using that dishonest data, and even based on that data they are creating bills on Bitcoin and proof of work, which is a blasphemy. Now, Adam Beck, co-founder and CEO of Blockstream, once described, and I quote, "You see that with other commodity money like physical gold, it's a system that works because money has a cost. I think money that doesn't have a cost ultimately ends up being political in nature. So people closer to the money, the so-called Cantillon effect, are going to be advantaged." Now, in the next video, we are going to debunk the statement single Bitcoin transaction footprint. Don't forget to like the video and to share it. And if you have any questions, please drop a comment or send me a DM on Instagram. For now, I'm wishing you a beautiful day and see you next time. Ciao.